Hey Luna, what are you doing?
Hey, I just got this new app on my phone. I don't know if you've heard about it. It's called Farmville.
Farmville? Isn't that some dumb farming game? And doesn't it take too long to do anything? And doesn't it just get so boring and routine after you've played it for that long? Whatever, I'm going back to playing Agricola.
Chicken soup for the roll.
Agricola is a worker placement game in which 1 to 5 players play as 17th century farmers. Throughout the game, each player attempts to improve their farm and their economic standing by gathering resources, plowing and sowing fields, raising animals, expanding and renovating their house, having children, taking occupations, and building miscellaneous improvements.
Now, if someone else is hosting a game of Agricola and they set it up ahead of time, Agricola may seem extremely aesthetically appealing. What with the simple but brightly colored boards, the cute art on the cards, and the vast amounts of wood that fits in this box. However, if you're the one who purchased Agricola and you're the one who had to set it up, you're going to be presented with quite a different first impression. There's no inlay.
That's right. The only way they could possibly fit an entire tree inside this box is by forgoing the plastic inlay that helps to keep things organized in basically every single other game ever. Instead, they provide you with roughly 7 million plastic reclosable bags in which to place all the high quality pieces. And even without the inlay, the game barely fits in the box. A plus for gamers looking for a big box game feel without taking up acres of shelf space.
So you've opened the box, and after spending the appropriate amount of time basking in the glory of so much wood, you're ready to read the rulebook and set up the game, right? Wrong. This rulebook, while being a great reference to those who already know the basics of how to play Agricola, is very intimidating to new players. Instead, we highly recommend viewing one of the many rules explanations on YouTube, some of which we've linked in the description below.
Finally, after watching 7 different rules explanations and cross-referencing the rulebook countless times, you're ready to play Agricola. You set out the various boards, shuffle some decks of cards, and organize some bits of wood. Everyone gets 7 occupation cards and 7 minor improvement cards. Finally, you flip the card for the first round and get started.
One of the most important parts of Agricola is that you have to feed your family, or else you get these begging cards, which are victory point penalties. As the game goes on, however, you have to feed your family more and more often. This makes the stress of the game gradually grow over the rounds and phases. You don't have to worry too much at the beginning, since you have 4 rounds to gather the necessary food before the harvest. But by the 14th and final round, you will only have 1 round before your family is hungry again. Hopefully, you'll have set up your fields and your pastures well enough by that point that food won't be a problem, but one simple miscalculation can cost you the game.
Do we recommend Agricola? Well, in a word, not really. For its exorbitant price, Agricola really offers very little replay value due to its lack of randomness and luck. The only things that differ between plays are the variations in order within a phase and your hand of occupations and minor improvements. What's worse is that at the beginning of the game, you draw 7 of each card and then you're done. You don't get to draw any more cards. So you're stuck with what you got, regardless of its lack of value or synergy.
However, where Agricola really falls flat is in the scoring. Instead of rewarding specialization, the score sheet demands that in each game, every player tries to do a little bit of everything. As you can see, the scoring card gives points based on their amount of various goods and other things. However, instead of getting a certain amount of points per item, each point value requires a certain range of that given item. For example, in this game, I would get 2 points because I have 3 fields. However, even though Tony has 7 fields, the greatest number of points he can receive for his fields is 4. And it gets worse. If you have 0 or sometimes even 1 of a given category, 1 point is subtracted from your total score. This severely penalizes players who attempt to specialize.
Lack of specialization in Agricola really takes away a lot of replayability. Instead of being able to try many different avenues to victory, as is true in many other modern games, Agricola forces you to do a little bit of everything, and forces players to reuse successful strategies instead of rewarding creative approaches.
According to Board Game Geek, Agricola is debatably a heavyweight game, but it would definitely not be fit to meet Hulk Hogan in the ring. Hulk Hogan is dynamic, while Agricola is the same from game to game. Hulk Hogan is interesting, while Agricola is literally about subsistence farming. Hulk Hogan can pin you in 22 seconds like he did against Yokozuna in WrestleMania 9, while Agricola takes half an hour per player to play. Agricola is currently rated number 6 on BoardGameGeek.com. However, I don't think it deserves that belt. Now, I'm not saying that Agricola is not a good game. I definitely enjoy playing it now and then, but it's definitely not worthy of a top 10 spot out of the hundreds of thousands of games out there. Now to Tony with the traffic. Tony?
Thank you, Luna. On the Chicken Soup for the Roll City plan, the road to Agricola is one that should not be so heavily traveled. Not anticipating the traffic, the city planners put up yield signs at every intersection, so you should look both ways for better games before choosing Agricola. There's also a somewhat pricey toll booth at $70 retail, so you might just be better staying home. Now back to Tony at the studio. Thanks, Tony. Another huge problem with this game is the use of a certain anti-Roma slur on a minor improvement card. We promptly ripped up this card as soon as we were made aware of its existence, as you can see here.
However, not only does this game have a problem with racism, it also has quite a few historical inaccuracies, as evidenced by the following annotated version of the rulebook's introduction.
Two historians and a dog.
Central Europe, around 1670 AD.
Who uses AD anymore? CE, Common Era. No one, not everyone is Christian. I mean, deal with it.
The plague which has raged since 1348 has finally been overcome.
You think a plague raged through Europe for over 300 years? No.
The civilized world is revitalized.
Wow, that's really Eurocentric. I mean, Arabia, during this entire time, China, they were all pretty damn civilized. So I don't know what you're talking about, the civilized world.
People are upgrading and renovating their huts.
Who had huts in the 17th century? America existed, like, not as a country, but there were people in America. No one was living in huts.
Fields must be plowed, tilled, and harvested.
Well, I mean, yeah, they always had to be.
The famine of the previous years has encouraged people to eat more meat, a habit that we continue to this day.
A habit that part is true. We do eat far too much meat. But regardless, the only famine around this time was like 20 years ago in eastern France. This game probably takes place in Germany. I mean, the game designer was German. And then there was a famine going around at this time, but it was in Spain, nowhere near Central Europe. I mean, come on.
Two historians and a dog.